The fourth Nihility Dream's Tempest Trials has finally introduced us to the ruler of nothingness, Gnungagap. Crazy wild design, I like it. Assuming she'll probably be playable, perhaps she'll be our final Tempest boss for this book 4 side plot. Currently though, Peony is the boss of this Tempest Trials, and she's got a new form. She does not appear to be a rearmed hero since her weapon doesn't have the arcane moniker, and in fact, there is some evidence she may not be ascended either, which has led to speculation she may be a brand new hero type. If you want to learn more, you can watch my last video about the Halloween banner. We spent some time going over the data mine changes behind the scenes of the game. Not going to talk about new Peony too much. Her axe has a couple fun combat perks like slaying stats and 40% DR. However, it also has support effects in current directions, and Peony's enemy phase stats match the BST of a dancer. Expect her to be her usual dancing support self. Now, for the Tempest rewards, as usual, you can get up to 42 orbs, 11,000 feathers, and 80 sacred coins. This month we have Ephraim 10 divine codes and 1 wind blessing for Legendary Alencia. For Sacred Seals, we have the Threat and Attack and Defense and even Tempest Seals. Our reward unit is Halloween Kellam, our first free-to-play sword armor in 6 years. You can get a 4-star and 5-star copy, and we'll talk about them more later on. For Sacred Seals, our first one is Threat and Attack and Defense 2. At start of turn, inflict -4 attack and defense debuffs on foes within 2 spaces through their next actions. Threatens are okay, they could work on arm units, but they really don't feel that useful at this point in the game. You need to be very close to the debuffs to hit. Compared to Menace effects, they do debuff all foes within range, but most people would rather just have that double range to work with. If these were tier 3 dual threatens, then like Menace skills, the user would get field buffs at the same time. I would maybe say then they would be worth using. For most situations, I would rather just use a standard stat boosting skill. Unless you have an abundance of coins, I would not really bother upgrading this one. Our other Sacred Seal is Even Tempest 3. At sort of even number turns, you get +1 movement. Tempest skills are for melee infantry and flyers only. While it is in the Sacred Seal slot, Rain Snap can let a flyer boost multiple allies' movements, including the user every turn. You can run both Odd and Even Tempest, however, neither are very easy to get in the C slot. If a free-to-play friendly unit were to get those skills, then it can be a cheap way to get 3 movement permanently. Dual Ephraim's Refine gave him Even Tempest kinda randomly, so he could run the Odd Tempest Seal. I don't remember if there is a unit with just Odd Tempest built in though. If there is one, you could do the same with this seal. While it would be best to have consistent +1 movement buffs, it's still a strong effect to get into the fight. If you're okay with the every other turn consistency, then it's an okay seal to upgrade.
Ooh, does the costume help me stand out at all? I was raised on a farm, so that's why I'm a pumpkin. And I'm also a ghost because, well...
Our Tempest reward unit for Halloween is Kellam. This is his Fae debut, no sneaky surprises. Kellam is the main armor knight for Crom Shepherds, and he's going to be a sword armor in Fae. There are only 10, I think, sword armors in the entire game, which seems a little silly. There are more armored mages in Fae, and that's not even a real class type in the main games. The last actual new hero sword armor was Zelgius at the start of year 2. The rest have all been seasonals. We have 4 free-to-play sword armors, and they all came in year 1. It's been almost 6 years since the last free-to-play option. Maybe Kellam's been here the whole time and we just didn't notice. Well, his stats say otherwise. 48 HP, 46 attack, 31 speed, 48 defense, and 27 res. 200 BST, super boons for HP, speed, and resistance. 48 base defense is extremely high, only 1 behind the top at max investment. 46 attack, also pretty good, and 48 HP is solid. 27 res is okay, nothing special, and then we have the unsurprisingly low 30s base speed. If you want to use Kellam for that sweet 200 BST arena scoring, well, you're gonna have to deal with that awkward speed stat. You could stack more, but you won't be catching anyone naturally fast. 31 base speed could help in speed checks when follow-up skills cancel out, although that's only going to work against the units who actually sacrifice all their speed. If you paid attention to free-to-play army units in recent times, Kellam is just the missing sword armor to fit into the same group as Vigard, Cervantes, and Ludwig. Meanwhile, there's guys like Murdoch with somewhat min-max stats, Special Fighter, and a distant counter follow-up axe. For his weapon, Kellam won't have a fancy unique weapon. He has the Farmer's Toe Plus, which is a sword. It has 14 might and the same effect as Ceto's Tome from the banner, and an attack and defense angle. At start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +6 attack and defense field buffs to the user and those allies. If unit initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +X to unit stats during combat. X is equal to 4 plus the highest bonus on each stat between the unit and allies within 2 spaces. calculated independently. Farmer's Tool Plus lets Kellam buff up his good attack and defense stats, and he shares those with his team. That should be easy to do as a low mobility army unit. He then gets what we now can call Bonus Doubler 4. Exact same effect, although this weapon can give the +4 stats without any bonuses active. Now, assuming Kellam buffs up, your +6 attack and defense field buffs double for +6 in combat. That means altogether you can get +16 attack and defense, +4 speed and res total. As a general rule, try to fully buff Kellam up. While he can borrow buffs from his allies, you aren't getting the full value of Bonus Doubler. The new tier 4 effect is a consolation prize in case you lose those field buffs. For old skills, Kellam has Ignis for his high defense, that's fine. He also has Attack and Defense Ideal 3, which is becoming a default free-to-play skill at this point. At the very least, Kellam has Vengeful Fighter 3 instead of the basic Wary Fighter. If you invested in Ludwig, Kellam can be a cheaper way to get Vengeful Fighter fodder if you wanted that fun tier 4 version. Not the most exciting base kit, but it synergizes together. Farmer's Tool Plus's field buffs proc Attack and Defense Ideal even if Kellam gets hurt. Assuming he gets doubled, Vengeful Fighter 4 lets Kellam proc Ignis on that quicker pulse follow-up attack, if there is no guard effects. Now stat-wise, this base kit can add +21 attack and defense. That's quite a lot from only 2 stat boosting skills. If you want to merge Kellam up, the Neutral Nature will give him +1 HP attack and speed. Maybe not the best if you don't care about speed, but Kellam has a speed super boon if you want to go fast. HP and res super boons are fine for a more balanced defense. As mentioned earlier, Halloween Kellam is our first non-5-star sword armor unit since year 1. If you just want a high BST unit in this class type for the purpose of scoring, you don't really got another choice. With max Dragon Flowers, Kellam does retain the highest attack and defense for free-to-play units. His awkward speed stat does stand out since if you want to go fast, Black Knight is available and he has Black Luna. If you want to go for pure tank, we have some hilariously min-max slow options with Zephiel and Arden. While normal army units nowadays may throw points into resistance to balance out their stats, these two have exceptionally high HP stats. Zephiel may be better for magic tanking, but Arden goes full force into physical tanking. These two have the highest base HP stats in the game, so if you like funny big numbers, there you go. Arden does have a dual phase Brave Sword, and he has a unique beast skill that gives him follow-up attacks. Probably not better than some of our armor beast skills now, but still fun. As an example of any rarity sword armor with similar stats to Kellam, there is Duo Hector. There just aren't that many units in this class to begin with, so Kellam does have a niche, at least until another free-to-play option comes around. Since we have this chart up, for anyone not in the know, I do want to go over why there are some differences between base stat totals despite everyone here getting 5 Dragonflower sets. Ideally, Dragonflowers help older units catch up in BST. This does work, but only past a certain point. It doesn't really make sense why a year 3 unit like Duo Hector gets the same amount of flowers as these year 1 dudes. That's because the Dragonflower system didn't happen till year 3, and the limit increase did not occur till later. That means everyone before got grouped together. When we compare very old units, if they get Resplendent outfits, they get an extra +10 BST, which will catch them up to the current BST values. However, that is literally pay to win only. Resplendent and Dragonflower stats do not count toward arena scoring if you care about that. Back to Kellam, he is a bog standard free-to-play army unit, good attack and defense, decent HP, okay res, and an awkward low 30 base speed. What makes Kellam unique is he is our first free-to-play sword armor in a long while. In terms of playstyle, Farmer's Tool provides Kellam and his team with +6 attack and defense field buffs. You don't really get a lot or really any support army units, so that's fun. Kellam will use the field buffs to power Bonus Doubler 4. While Kellam's speed can be ignored in favor of pure tankiness, if you want to build speed, Farmer's Tool Plus kinda is the weapon to do it with. You will need speed buffs, but a potential +16 extra speed is just a lot, just for Kellam giving 1 buff. Unfortunately, armor units cannot run the actual Bonus Doubler skill, so no double or triple stacking unless you have someone like Legendary Eliwood. On a budget, you also do not have the best self-buffing skills. We can't run Oath or Rouse self-buffs. The best we got is Even or Odd Waves. You can stack both, but probably just easier to get someone else to give your speed and res buffs. Outside of pure stat stacking, the field buffs from Farmer's Tool will proc attack and defense ideal even if Kellam loses HP. It's not going to work if you lose those buffs though. Now, we then have Vengeful Fighter for a simple enemy phase build. Let the enemy initiate first, and if Kellam gets doubled, he can proc Ignis on the follow. Not the safest plan, but it's fine. You could run Breath Sacred Seals for more cooldown reduction, but some other skills Guard is nice if you're assuming Kellam's gonna get doubled. You can run other stat boosters like Form or Close Defense. Feel free to swap to Res boosters if you want. If you want to have some fun, Bold Fighter Sacred Seal's there. Ideally, you would have a way to get Kellam extra mobility for that. For some premium skills, if you want a simple upgrade, Kellam is on the Legendary banner currently. He has Vengeful Fighter 4, which is quite good. -4 attack debuffs, free follow-up attack, follow-up denial, and breath type cooldown. A lot more tools to play with, and Kellam can pass along attack and defense near save at the same time. Very basic near save setup with Farmer's Tool Plus providing a lot of stats potentially. Try to give Kellam speed and res buffs, they don't hurt to have. The extra speed could be useful versus middling speed foes. Now for A skills, a tier 3 dual stance would be nice to get Guard. You could also go for Unity if you want to go wild with Grand Strategy for example. Close Defense 4 will deny enemy field buffs. Attack and Defense Ideal 4 is fine too. If you want Armored Beacon, Young Hector also has Vengeful Fighter 4. Generally, Armored Beacon's better for far save since the Unpierceable DR is only against ranged enemies. You could use it for all-purpose reasons though. If you want accelerated specials, Leaf's Arcane Sword has Slaying, -6 attack and defense debuffs, Omnibreaker, and Guard. That does overlap with Vengeful Fighter 4 and partly with Special Fighter 4. It works very well with Hardy Fighter though. You get follow-up denial and defense on a follow-up, plus the 2 cooldown Papist or Aegis with your own follow-up attack. Try to get breath type cooldown to recharge that special. I assume we'll get more tier 4 fighter B skills, so those may end up being better for Leaf's Arcane Sword later on. There are lots of builds you can run with things like Wily, Slick, Crafty Fighter, etc. To have some fun, there are some interesting skills a sword armor could run, technically not locked to armors, but you could do Gambit 4 with Wyvern Katana Plus. Ninja Heart's dual phase Brave Sword drops speed for +5 defense and res, and we can abuse Gambit's 15 true damage on hit 2 times. It also gives 50% DR. However, we have to run a 5 cooldown Aether Miracle. Is that worth it? Arden also has his own dual phase Brave Sword if you wanted to go for that. Now, you can of course use the Brave Sword with other Fighter B skills too. Another non-armor specific option would be Special Fighter 4. Maybe you can spam Bonfire counters that pierce DR. For another weapon, it's not free to play friendly, but Flame Rinka is a 4-star focus seasonal. Her Flame Gunbai Plus inflicts attack and defense debuffs based on flat defense, if you just want to go for full tank. For the most part, enemy phase savior builds all kind of blend together. We have a lot of Fighter B skills to mix and match, and there's even that Bold Fighter Seal if you want to get spicy. Leaf's Arcane Sword is a very good starting point, but if you want Arcane Devour, it does provide a decent amount of cooldown. I would only run that if you know what you're getting yourself into. Overall, this is an okay Tempest Trials, not the best Sacred Seals, but we are getting our first non-5-star sword armor in a while. If you want to build a modern one, well, Kellam is it, for now at least. Sadly, stat-wise, he's also got that generic free-to-play armor stat spread, good attack and defense, but awkward speed that for most builds doesn't help too much. That being said, if you do want to take advantage of Kellam's speed, the Farmer's Tool Plus sword can make it work. It has bonus delivery 4 and self-buffs attack and defense, but if you can give Kellam speed buffs, and he doesn't lose them, then it's a good amount of stats. Same goes for resistance too. For infantry units, you can stack bonus delivery skills with the Farmer's Tool. It's fun, but it's not to the same degree as Unity stacking, and of course, you lose a lot of value once those buffs are gone. Build-wise, Kellam can work with the standard fighter plus savior builds, lots of mix and match, and Leaf's Arcane Sword works really good for him. We've had 3 other free-to-play armors with pretty similar stats in the past year. If you want some inspiration, it just comes down to your inheritable weapon. That's going to be it for this video. Go get those rewards and Halloween Kellam. Next video, we'll go over this month's Ephemeral Comet manuals. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.